The class is offered by the Insight Meditation Community Washington, IMCW, and also under the auspices of the Center for Mindful Living, part of IMCW, Center for Mindful Living, and a wonderful community you'll hear more about. If you're new, you'll hear more about it later in the announcements. There's all sorts of wonderful things going on every day of the week. And it's really, perhaps particularly since we've been in the pandemic, has really helped strengthen, build, fortify community and our connection with each other. So deep appreciation for the center. And hope everyone is doing well. Hope your weekend, hope you're having a good weekend, had a good week, the past week. And just a little bit on the format of the class. It's very simple. We'll begin with a meditation, probably about 20 minutes of meditation. And then I'll share some reflections today. The theme will be on letting be, letting go, which is very much a central theme of the Buddhist path. And then Emily will lead us in some mindful movement, short movement, kind of helping us get into our bodies. Then we'll come back. I think today, I hope we'll do some small group breakout groups. And then we'll come back and if there's time, we'll have some sharing in the larger group, and we'll just have some conclusion, maybe a short meditation and some announcements to finish. So very glad that you can be with us, whether you're local to the DC area or whether you're joining us from farther afield. Everyone is very, very welcome, whoever you are. Just know that our deepest intention is that you be safe and welcome in this community. And I feel the support of community that the Buddha spoke about as all of the spiritual practice. All of spiritual practice is community. And I think all of us who've been part of this community and other Dharma communities know, how large, how real a support it is in our lives to be part of something larger and supporting each other in our practice. So we'll begin with a meditation. So I invite you to take some moments to find a posture that is comfortable and relaxed. Whether you're sitting on a chair or on a cushion or lying down, take your seat. Think of it as when we're sitting, we're creating a space really for presence, to be present with what's arising in the body and the heart and the mind. As Martha Postlethwaite puts it in her poem Clearing, we're creating a clearing in the dense forest of our lives and waiting patiently till the song that is yours alone to sing falls in your open cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. So think of it as creating a space in your life where you can really be fully here, fully present, or as fully present as you can. If you're comfortable, you can let your eyes close, let your attention come inward. You might consciously drop your awareness out of the thinking mode, where we spend so much of our time thinking, planning, remembering, analyzing, all the things we do. This wonderful gift of thinking. But just for now, for this time, just to let go of plans and memories. Let go of the future, let go of the past. And just open to what's present right now. Feel your body, feel the contact of your body with the surface beneath you. Feel the weight of your body pressing down on your buttocks and on your thighs. Feel your feet in contact with the floor. Your hands touching your lap or your knees, or one hand touching the other. Feeling the sensations. Inviting the body to be relaxed, at ease. Inviting the shoulders to relax. Letting the chest be open so you can breathe easily. And you might let your awareness come to your breathing, and you can deepen your breath. Take a nice full deep in-breath. Filling the chest and filling the lungs, and releasing, letting go on the out-breath, long, slow out-breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, calming the body. Breathing out, calming the mind. Letting the deeper breaths help you settle and arrive. So you can be here, a sense of ease, relaxed, yet alert, calm, but at the same time aware of what's arising, what's present. You might find it helpful to consciously invite a smile to your face. Enough to activate the muscles around the eyes and around the mouth. You might think of a loved one or somebody who makes you feel happy or joyful. Let their image come into your mind, into your heart. It might be a place that's you love to go to that's peaceful or calm. So let the smile help relax the body and the mind, help you settle into being here. And opening to whatever is present right now in the body, in the heart, in the mind. Recognizing what's here and allowing everything to come and go in its own time. Whatever bodily feelings you're aware of, just make space for them. You might imagine your awareness as being larger than your physical body. Maybe as large as the room or as wide as the sky. Just everything can come and go in this open space of awareness. Bodily feelings, any mood or emotions that are present. Just letting them come, letting them be, letting them go. However the mind is right now. Maybe the mind is very active, lots of thinking. See if you can make space for how things are right now. Just when you're aware of thoughts coming, just let them come, let them go. Choose not to follow them, chase after them. Just let them come and go. Staying close to your direct experience, body, the breath. Choosing not to chase after thoughts, worried thoughts or planning thoughts or daydream thoughts, whatever thoughts come up, just notice, oh, thinking. Just let your attention come back to the body, the breath. Welcoming the guests that come to visit. Just letting them come and go. In Rumi's metaphor, welcome the guests. He says, even if they're a crowd of sorrows, you sweep your house empty of its furniture. Treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. whatever's present right now, whether it's calm or peace or worry or restlessness or tiredness, whatever is here comes out of causes and conditions. Certain has a quality of lawfulness. It doesn't come out of nowhere. Just what is here is here. We don't have any say now over what's here, but we can choose how we meet our experience. We can choose our attitudes. Choose how we relate to what's here, what's present. We can invite an attitude of kindness to whatever's here, of acceptance, of non-resistance, and non-denial. As Ajahn Sumedho says, this moment, it's like this. It's like this. Whatever's here right now, it's like this. Sadness, it's like this. Joy, it's like this. And our breathing can be a kind of home base for us, a base camp, where we rest our attention, where we can come back to when the mind goes into stories and plans, memories. Just come back to the breath. A simple awareness of breathing in and breathing out. If you find yourself in a struggle with your experience, wanting it to be different or pushing it away, denying it, resisting it, so if you can just invite a quality of acceptance, allowing what's here to be here, just giving it space, letting it come and go. It's natural to want to move away from what feels difficult or unpleasant. But the counter-intuitive wisdom of the teachings is that when we move towards what's difficult, it's there that we can find freedom amidst all of the changing conditions of life. Saying yes to what is, allowing what's here to be here, to come and to go. In her poem, "Peace is this moment without judgment," Dorothy Hunt asks, does peace require an absence from your boss, your spouse, yourself? Do you think peace will come some other place than here, some other time than now, in some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome.
I share this poem, and it's from Lao Tzu, the founder, I think, of Taoism. He says, "Some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty but impractical. But to those who've looked inside themselves, this nonsense makes perfect sense. And to those who put it into practice, this loftiness has roots that go deep. I have just three things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These are your great treasures. Simple in actions and thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world." So, simplicity, patience, compassion. So the theme today is letting go and letting be. And I begin by reflecting that that I think any trustworthy spiritual path will include as a central teaching the importance of letting go, the importance of letting go of clinging, letting go of attachment, letting go of identification. Within the Buddhist teachings, letting go of clinging and attachment is very much at the center of the teachings. And to thinking of, in Christianity, in Jesus' instruction that if someone strikes you on the cheek, you should turn the other cheek. We're all familiar with that, that rather than responding to anger with anger or to hatred with hatred, that we respond by, with kindness, with acceptance, with choosing not to perpetuate the conflict, which only leads to more conflict. I think as well of the Jesus teaching of when the rich young man came to ask him, how do I find the eternal life, the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus made it easy for him and said, sell all your goods, give your money to the poor, and follow me. And the rich young man looked sad, and Jesus then gave his teaching of that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to get to heaven, to get to the kingdom of heaven. So it's, I think, a great teaching, because how it really is a teaching of non-clinging, because as long as we're clinging and holding on to our material possessions or anything else, as long as we're clinging to anything, we're not going to be able to see things clearly. We're not going to be able to let go in the way that will allow us to find the deep freedom. In that way, I think it's very much, very compatible with the Buddha's teachings and other wisdom traditions from, Judaism and Hinduism and Islam and all of these traditions that I think have at their core have a wisdom and a sense of the importance of letting go, of not holding on, particularly not holding on to, to our, what we might think of as our ego, things we cling to with the ego. There's many teachings in Buddhism, obviously, about letting go, but one that I like is where someone came to the Buddha and asked him, how should I respond if someone communicates with me in an angry way, gets really angry with me? What should I do? And the Buddha asked the person, he said, what happens if someone sends you a letter and you don't want to accept it? You don't want to accept the letter. And the person replied, well, then the messenger, the postal service of the Buddha's day, would return it to the person who sent it. They return the letter to the person, return to sender. And the Buddha then said, it's the same way if someone sends anger towards you and you don't accept it. You don't get angry in return. The anger returns to them. So this is, very much the same kind of teaching, not responding to anger with anger, not perpetuating the conflict. So in the Buddhist teachings, non-attachment and non-clinging is very much at the core of the teachings. I think anyone who's, been to a few classes or heard a few talks on the Dharma teachings will be familiar with this. And the central teaching of the Buddha could really be summarized, I think, in, just in saying, when you cling, you suffer. When you let go of clinging, you let go of suffering. That's a kind of encapsulation of the Four Noble Truths, about suffering and the end of suffering. That really at the root, it's clinging causes suffering. Letting go of clinging leads to freedom, leads to ultimately to awakening and to the end of suffering. And in the Buddha's teaching of the Eightfold Path, this is the path to the end of suffering. 4 of the 8 factors of the path are concerned directly with letting go or letting be. All of the Eightfold Path is concerned with letting go and letting be, but 4 very directly. I just name them. Wise understanding, or sometimes called right view, is really understanding suffering and the end of suffering. That when we cling, we suffer, and that when we let go of clinging, we let go of suffering, we end suffering. So wise understanding is to view our life and the world through the lens of the 4 Noble Truths, through the lens of letting go. That's the first of these 8 factors. The second, wise intention, involves really, as the first wise intention, is the intention of renunciation, the intention of letting go. That our intentions, all our wise intentions, all our intentions should be informed by letting go, by loving kindness, and by compassion. You know, in that way, when we cultivate these intentions, then it will free our hearts, open our hearts, allow us to let go of clinging, let go of suffering. The third area of the Eightfold Path concerned with, excuse me, with letting go is wise effort. I've spoken in the last few months about wise effort, and that there are two central efforts in Dharma teachings, Dharma practice. That is, the first is to abandon the unskillful. Really, it's to let go of clinging. It's to let go of, to see that when we get caught up in anger and hatred and blame and judgment and craving, then we suffer. So let go of those tendencies of mind. Firstly, to just see them. You know, oh, I'm really clinging here. I'm really caught up in my view of I'm wanting to be right in this argument or this conversation. And I'm clinging to that. Often we'll experience the clinging in our bodies. We'll feel that tightness, like, yes, I've got to get this stupid person to recognize that what I'm saying is right, you know, whatever the story is in our mind. So letting go of abandoning mind states that lead to suffering. And the second is to cultivate the wholesome states that lead to happiness and well-being, like mindfulness, like compassion, loving kindness, generosity, gratitude, all of the range of beautiful states that lead to happiness and well-being. And the fourth factor of the Eightfold Path that's linked to letting go is wise mindfulness, which involves bringing a kind, accepting awareness to our experience, moment to moment, and just to see where we're holding on and to let go. So all of these teachings, all of these areas of the Buddha's teaching of the Eightfold Path are really about letting go. What will help us create the conditions to let go of clinging? Because that's really what all of the path revolves around, really. One very simple and pithy statement of the Buddha's teachings is that nothing whatsoever should be clung to as I or mine. Nothing whatsoever should be clung to as I or mine. So whenever we see that we're clinging, we're holding on, we're wanting things to be the way we want them to be, or we're resisting the way things are, then we're suffering. Whenever we cling, we suffer. Whenever we let go of clinging, we find freedom from suffering. You know, it may be a little freedom, it may be a lot, but it's a training to ultimately find complete freedom from suffering. You know, there are many ways that this gets expressed in teachings. Probably everyone's familiar with Tara Brach's teachings and the language of radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is really another way of speaking about letting go. It means deep-rooted acceptance of ourselves and of how this moment is unfolding. Just accepting, okay, there's sadness. Can I accept this? There's wanting. Can I accept that this is here and let it come and let it go? Again, coming down to letting go and letting be. Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now speaks of the yes to what is. That's another expression of letting go, of saying that the more we can say yes to what is, yes to what's present, yes to what's here, yes to this sadness, yes to this feeling of aversion. Okay, can I say yes to this? Let it come, let it go. And when we do that, we see really the emptiness of the experience, that there's nothing really solid there, that it's impermanent, that it's changing, that it's not me or mine, that it can't be clung to, and that when we attempt to cling to anything, we suffer. So seeing that, getting that radical insight into how clinging causes suffering and how we find freedom by saying yes to what is, through radical acceptance. There's a phrase I've shared here before from Anthony de Mello, the Jesuit teacher and philosopher and writer, died, I think, 20 or 30 years ago. He speaks about awakening or enlightenment as absolute cooperation with the inevitable. Absolute cooperation with the inevitable. And I love that phrase, because it's the same, really. What I'm talking about is we're cooperating with the way things are. The way things are, we could say, is inevitable. Not in the sense of predetermined, this was predestined to happen, but in the sense of unavoidable. Those familiar with Spanish, in Spanish, the word inevitable is inevitable, which is, you could translate as unavoidable. The verb evitar is to avoid, unavoidable. What is here right now is unavoidable. What you are feeling in this moment, what you are experiencing in this moment, could be pleasant, could be unpleasant, could be neutral, could be body, could be emotions, could be mind. What is here right now is unavoidable. It's here. It's come out of previous causes and conditions. For example, not that you can necessarily explain the causes and conditions very simply in every case, but if you're feeling really tired now, there's some causes for that. Maybe you just didn't get enough sleep last night. Maybe, you got up much earlier than you normally do, or something like that. We won't always be able to put it in a nice, easy, neat box like that. But there are causes and conditions to leading to whatever this is right now, whatever your this is, or my this is right now. It's this, and if we can accept and cooperate with the inevitable, what's unavoidable, what's here, then there's deep freedom in that. Deep freedom in the acceptance that this moment is like this, as Ajahn Sumedho says, it's like this. This moment is like this. What we have a lot more influence over is how we meet the unavoidable. How we meet the unavoidable is really our pathway to freedom. Because if we can meet the unavoidable, if we can meet what is here now with an open heart, with kindness, with acceptance, without resistance, without denial, then we come into a wise relationship with our experience. We let it come, we let it go. And then if something needs to be changed, we can change it, but we can do it from that place of radical acceptance, from that place of cooperation with what is, as many of you know, I like to include poetry in talks and in meditations. For me, it helps me kind of drop down out of the conceptual mind and really drop down into the present moment. Has that, that at least certain poems and certain poets do that. I love the way Mary Oliver, in one of her best loved poems, The Wild Geese, she said, she begins by saying, you do not have to be good. You do not need to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. And then she says, you only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And then she says, tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the wild geese in the wide open sky remind you of your place in the family of things. But that sense of letting your the soft animal of your body love what it loves, letting be, letting go, just being present. You don't have to, walk through the desert repenting. You don't need to struggle and strive. You just need to allow, let be, and often share, and did shared early the Martha Postlethwaite's poem Clearing, creating a clearing in the dense forest of your life and waiting there patiently until the song that is yours alone to sing falls into your open cupped hands. That sense of letting be, opening to the silence, opening to the stillness, to the mystery. And out of that can come insight, can come clarity. Again, letting be, letting go. And as I shared with Rumi's poem, The Guest House, welcoming the guests, letting them come and go. Again, this quality of letting be, letting go. So letting go and letting be is really ending our struggle with our experience, ending the struggle, meeting this moment with kindness and with acceptance. And the Tibetan Buddhist teacher Chogyam Trungpa put it this way. He said, there's no need to struggle to be free. There's no need to struggle to be free. Ending the struggle is itself freedom. Ending the struggle is itself freedom. I think it's a great wisdom in that line, in that teaching. Ending the struggle is itself freedom. Our suffering really is in that struggle, in that kind of aversive struggle. There's that clinging, pushing away, resisting, spacing out, all the ways we struggle with our experience. And if we can just end the struggle, just let go of the rope, as it were. So what are we doing when we let go? Essentially, we're abandoning the illusion that we can control life. That if we try hard enough, everything will work out the way we want it to be. Think about that. Good luck with that one. That if we try hard enough, everything's going to turn out right. But we know, at a deep level, we're just not in control. Uncertainty and change are fundamental and inevitable elements of life. Things will happen. Who knows, any of us, what might happen later today or tomorrow or next week. We've all experienced it in our life. Things we might be, just sailing along in a very good way, life's good, etc. And then boom, out of left field or right field comes something that, we couldn't know about in advance. Often, it just comes, and then, this is life. We're not fundamentally, we're not in control. And the more that we struggle in an aversive kind of way, the more we're in that struggle for clinging and controlling, the more we suffer. You know, the image I like is we experience rope burn. You know, we're holding on so tightly to the rope that we're burning our hands by holding on tightly. And the solution is just to let go, is to let go. There's a story, it's not a story, it's just a kind of an image really in you know, the Buddhist teachings of you know, of freedom. As you're jumping out of a plane, and then there's this kind of freedom moving through space, and then there's this recognition, oh shoot, I don't have a parachute. and there's kind of the panic, and then there's a realization, there's no ground, so there's just kind of just opening. So if we can let go of that clinging, that's where the freedom is. You know, it doesn't mean that we go to the other extreme. The other extreme is, it's all meaningless, I can't control anything, I might as well give up trying. You know, we tend to go from, you know, extreme to extreme, from pole to pole. You know, and one way is really controlling, and another is like, you know, just kind of completely giving up. It's one side is craving, the other is aversion. But the Buddha's path was the middle way. It involves wise and balanced effort. It involves changing what it's wise and appropriate to change. You know, the Buddha and any wise teacher never says, oh, just, you know, give up everything, go, or don't change anything. You don't need to change anything. You know, there may be things, and there are things in life that it's important to change, aren't there? You know, but it's really about what is the quality of heart and mind with which we go about trying to change what needs to be changed. So changing what's wise and appropriate to change, accepting what we can't change and what it isn't so wise to change, and the wisdom to know the difference. So there's change, there's acceptance, and there's the wisdom to be able to discern what is, you know, what calling for acceptance and what's calling for change. And probably we're all familiar with some version of the Serenity Prayer, which is basically that. It's, you know, may I accept what I can't change what I can change, and know and have the wisdom to know the difference. You know, it's that balance. So how do we know what's wise action, and how can we act in a spirit of non-clinging? I think of the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu holy book, part of the Mahabharata, the Hindu epic, where Krishna counsels Arjuna on the field of battle. And he says, act, you know, essentially says, act without clinging to the fruits of action. So act because it's wise action, because we, you know, perhaps it's our duty to act, but not to cling to the outcomes of action. And that's the balance, really, to act, because often we are called on to act, but to act without, you know, I've got to get to this outcome. You know, if we were doing political work, it would be, we've got to pass the legislation. Everything is terrible if we don't, or get the candidate elected. Can we act because it's wise and it's compassionate to do so, because we feel it's right to do so, and not to be so tied up with outcomes? And that's really the wisdom of the teachings. So we cultivate non-clinging, letting be, through training the mind, through working with our own experience, and for many of us through following a trustworthy path. You know, I've mentioned the Buddha's path really is a path of letting go and cultivating, letting go of unwholesome states and cultivating the wholesome states, loving kindness, mindfulness, compassion, generosity, joy, gratitude, patience, etc. So what does this look like in our own lives? Really, it involves seeing where we're clinging and to let go, kind of where I started. Firstly, becoming aware of our own suffering. Where am I suffering right now? Where am I experiencing, I'm wanting things to be different than they are. I'm wanting this thing to end, or I'm wanting to have something I don't have. I'm wanting something pleasant. I'm wanting to get rid of something unpleasant. To be aware of that suffering, to be in non-denial about it, or non-resistance to it, and non-clinging. And to see where, if we are suffering, we are always involved in that suffering. There's always a way in which we are holding on to something. We're clinging to something. Because if we weren't clinging, there wouldn't be suffering. This is the kind of the two sides of the coin. If we cling, we suffer. If we let go of clinging, we let go of suffering. Doesn't mean we don't, we could, if we end clinging, we can still experience pain, obviously, because that's part of life. But there won't be that, what we talk about sometimes as the second arrow. We won't be adding the resistance to the pain. We won't be adding that, oh, it shouldn't be like this. This pain shouldn't be like this. That's the suffering part. That's the second arrow. So seeing our own role in suffering is really the central teaching of understanding, oh, I'm holding, there's some unskillful way I'm relating to my experience right now, to this situation right now. And can I let go of that clinging? Can I let go of that aversion? Can I let go of that delusion? And if I can do that, then I can experience freedom. This is the third noble truth of the Buddha, the truth of freedom from suffering. And as Ajahn Chah says, let go a little, we'll experience a little freedom. Let go a lot, we'll experience a lot of freedom. Let go completely and we'll experience complete freedom from suffering. Our struggle with the world will be at an end. And the fourth of these truths is that there's a path, there's a skillful path. And we're engaging in this path today. We're engaging in practices of wise speech, wise listening, wise mindfulness, wise view, wise understanding, seeing clinging and seeing letting go of clinging, wise intention, all of these ways that we're cultivating really a heart that's free from clinging, free from resistance, free from suffering. And every moment is an opportunity to do this. It could be something as simple as having an itch, and scratching the itch. Now, it's not that scratching an itch is morally reprehensible. It's not, in Christian terms, Catholic terms, it's not a mortal sin if we scratch, in meditation, we scratch, But what's really helpful in meditation is to see what's habitual, and particularly when our habits lead us to suffering, and where we can make what's habitual intentional. So if I can just stay with that kind of itchy feeling and say, okay, noticing the itching on my face without acting on it, then what happens is it opens up choice. I can say, I could scratch, or I could just stay and let it come and let it go. And seeing choice means that we can choose, over time, we can choose options that lead us to happiness rather than lead us to suffering. In a way, you could think of scratching an itch as an indifferent thing. It doesn't have great moral weight to it. But even something as simple as that can indicate how, in any moment, one path will lead us more towards freedom, and one will lead us more towards doing things over and over again, and in a larger sense lead to suffering. I'm not saying scratching an itch will lead to suffering, but if we keep doing things like that habitually, unconsciously, then our life will be habitual and unconscious, and we won't be consciously moving towards freedom in our lives, working with the patterns of unskillful action and unskillful speech and unskillful thought, etc. So even that simple example can show us where we can find freedom. Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response is a space. In that space lies our ability to choose. And in our ability to choose lies our growth and our freedom. So in any situation, does this lead to greater freedom, or does it lead to more suffering? Is it lead to unconsciousness, or does it lead to more consciousness? As Jung said, what is not brought to consciousness comes to us as fate. You know, what we don't bring into awareness, we just keep acting out. You know, we play out the patterns of samsara, of just kind of the repetition over and over, the cycles of suffering. I'll share in a minute a teaching from the third Zen patriarch, Sang Sen, but I'll come back to that in a little bit. But I'll leave it here just to reflect on letting go and how you can experience what's calling to be let go of in your life, in your experience right now, moment to moment as we're together today. And and maybe more broadly in your life, is there a pattern that you see coming up over and over again? Is there something that really calls for attention to be let go of, and to explore that? So let's pause here. I invite Emily to lead us in some movement, and then we'll come back and do some small groups, some sharing, maybe sharing on letting be. So when you're ready, Emily, thank you.
Take a moment to just widen out, swinging your arms from side to side, and then just feeling this space around you. And then open up your arms wide, take a big inhale, lifting your head and chest, and then draw your arms up, grasping your left wrist in your right hand. Inhale, reaching out towards the right, tilting your body. Breathing here into that left rib cage. Inhale back to center. Grasp the right wrist in your left and extend out to the left, breathing into that right rib cage. Exhale and soften here. Inhale back to center. Float your arms down and then roll your shoulders individually. And roll them the other way. And then bring your arms up into cactus arms. Exhale, lower. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, rising. Exhale, lower. Inhale, reach up, extend your arms out. Flip your left palm up and the right palm down. And on an inhale, switch over. And switch. And switch. Last time to the left and to the right. Allow your arms to float down. Roll your shoulders together. And roll them the other way. And now draw your hands behind your waist. Inhale, lifting your head and chest. Exhale, bring your shoulder blades together, lengthening your arms, hold, and then release back to your waist. Another time, inhale, lifting your head and chest. Exhale, drawing down your hands. Hold here. And then release back to the waist. Float your arms down. Just for a moment, fly. Just allow your body to fly around. And last movement is bring your hands above your knees. Come into a flat back. Extending your head away from your pelvis, soften, and then lower down. Allow gravity to pull your body down, pressing on your feet to lift your pelvis up, strengthening your legs, but allowing the upper torso to lean forward. Deep breath in. Exhale with a sigh. And then bring your hands back to above your knees. Press on your feet and lift up, rolling up the spine and lift up your arms. And back to prayer position. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. It's amazing how much better one feels. Certainly this one feels after just 5 or 7 minutes of movement. Thank you. Beautiful. Again, just let your attention come back into the body. You could close your eyes. Arriving again, opening to what's present right now. Yes to what is. I say yes to this. Can I be at peace in this moment, just as it is, without anything needing to change or be different? Making space for what's here. And appreciating your own effort in being here today and just really showing up, practicing, opening to your experience. Appreciating everyone else who's here, how we support each other in our practice, how we wake up together. You might breathe in a wish of kindness to yourself. And breathe out kindness to all of us, everyone else who's here today. Wishing everyone well. May you be happy, safe, free from harm. We'll sit for a couple of minutes. I'll share this from Seng San, the third Zen patriarch. It's called the mind of absolute trust. The great way isn't difficult for those who are unattached to their preferences. Let go of longing and aversion, and everything will be perfectly clear. When you cling to a hairbreadth of distinction, heaven and earth are set apart. If you want to realize the truth, don't be for or against. The struggle between good and evil is the primal disease of the mind. Not grasping the deeper meaning, you just trouble your mind's serenity. As vast as infinite space, it is perfect and lacks nothing. But because you select and reject, you can't perceive its true nature. Don't get entangled in the world. Don't lose yourself in emptiness. Be at peace in the oneness of things, and all errors will disappear by themselves. If you don't live the Tao, the way, you fall into assertion or denial. Asserting that the world is real, you're blind to its deeper reality. Denying that the world is real, you are blind to the selflessness of all things. The more you think about these matters, the farther you are from the truth. Step aside from all thinking, and there is nowhere you can't go. Returning to the root, you find the meaning. Chasing appearances, you lose their source. At the moment of profound insight, you transcend both appearance and emptiness. Don't keep searching for the truth. Just let go of your opinions.